Well, drugs are now suspected in the death of a teen at an Army base in Washington State. Our Fox affiliate in Seattle, meanwhile, identifies the girl as 16-year-old Leah King, a high school student from Tacoma, Washington. She was found dead at Fort Lewis early Sunday morning alongside another teen who was unconscious. Apparently, the civilian girls knew a soldier at the barracks, and now Army investigators are saying that King's death is drug-related. Gwen Lindsay-Jackson is a former military prosecutor. Thank you for joining us. The spokesperson for the criminal investigation for the Army will not say how they know it's drugs or what type of drug they believe was used. But how do you suppose they came to this conclusion?
Well, I think they probably came to the conclusion by doing the investigation. Maybe they took some blood sampling of the girl that's deceased or the one that's alive. And, you know, there are a lot of questions. Where did the drugs come from? Was it ingested off base? Was it ingested on base? And that really is going to be something that they're going to be focusing on, because then they're going to be looking at who the soldier is that they know. How did they get on base? I mean, my understanding is you have to have ID. And if they weren't dependents of a military person, how they got on post is something that CID, which is Criminal Investigation Division, is going to be looking very closely at.
Well, from what I understand, you are allowed on the base if you are escorted by a military personnel, as long as you show some form of photo identification, but that there's some kind of a curfew and that they would not have been allowed in certain quarters. Lots of irregularities here.
Absolutely. And then also with the age of the girl, there's, you know, you can be escorted, but however, if you have minors being escorted by soldiers, that's something that should have been a red flag. So I can definitely tell you that CID is going to be turning that over.
Right. The autopsy results are not going to be in for about a week, but in the meantime, there is the surviving teenager who is in stable condition in the hospital. One would assume that they're getting some answers from her.
Yes, I'm sure that they're talking to her, and hopefully she's in a position to give information that would shed some light on how this child died, where this child got the drugs. Was it ingested on base or off base?
You know, we're hearing from some people that it's actually pretty common for local teens who live near Army bases to come on base and hang out with some of the younger GIs, and that they have access to alcohol and whatnot. Is this something that you see as a problem?
Well, I can tell you as a 26-year military veteran that that's certainly not the practice. You know, that's an aberration. I can tell you that the military has a very strong policy against drug use. The military does not, you know, condone, you know, underage teens coming on base and mingling with the soldiers. I mean, they have a very strong ethical code and ethical concept, which is why, as I said before, they're going to be looking very closely at how that child got on base, with what ID was presented, who she was with, and under what circumstances.
If there is some culpability on the part of this soldier who allegedly was friends with at least one of these two girls, what sorts of punishment might we be seeing here?
Well, there can be a whole host of a number of things. If the child, obviously, you know, the girl is underage, he could be charged criminally from a military standpoint under UCMJ. He could also be administratively disciplined. He could lose privileges. He could lose his, you know, his rank. And also, he could be, if in fact CID decides to cede jurisdiction to the civilian authorities, he might be tried in a civilian court. But right now, we know that the military has jurisdiction. They have not ceded jurisdiction in any way, and they're investigating.
Yeah, a lot of jurisdictional issues there that have to be ironed out. All right, Gwen Lindsay-Jackson, thank you so much for joining us.